Hello everybody and welcome back to another video tutorial. In this video tutorial, I'm going to be showing an easier and faster method to create and sew the single welt pocket. The single welt pocket has one welt showing through the pocket window as opposed to the double welt pocket that has two welts showing through the pocket window. This tutorial is yet another method to create and sew the single welt pocket. In my previous video titled Method 1 How to Create and Sew the Single Welt Pocket, I showed you a little more comprehensive method. However, this method is easier and much more direct. So feel free to pick whichever method you prefer or understand better. The choice is yours. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Flip the main fabric onto the wrong side and apply the fusible interfacing to the spot where you want your pocket window to be. Apply the interfacing using the iron heat to weld it onto the wrong side of the main fabric. Next, place a long strip of fabric in contrasting color onto the main fabric, right side to right side. The long strip of fabric will be used to create the welt and pocket bag in one piece, unlike the previous method where we had two welt pieces and a pocket bag separately. Place your strip so that you have enough fabric for the upper part of the pocket and even more fabric for the lower part of the pocket. Next, pin your long strip onto the main fabric to hold it in place. Flip the fabric onto the wrong side so that the interfacing will be facing you. Pin around the interfacing so that you will know the spot where the interfacing is because that's where you will want to draw your pocket window. With that done, flip the fabric over and draw your pocket window within the parameter of the interfacing. Draw a pocket window that is 6 inches wide and ½ inch to 1 inch long. Your pocket window could be any width that you want it to be, but the length shouldn't be more than ½ inch to 1 inch long. My pocket window is 6 inches wide and a little more than ½ inch long. Draw a line through the middle of the pocket window to divide it into two equal halves. Leave a ½ inch space before the end of the pocket window on both sides and draw a triangle on both ends of the pocket window. Now you have a pocket window in form of a rectangle that has two triangles on both ends. Then sew all around the rectangle like so. Sew around the outer lines of the pocket window and remember to do a back stitch to prevent your stitches from coming loose. When you get to the corner of the rectangle, pivot your fabric and then continue sewing. When you're done sewing your rectangle at the end, backstitch to prevent your sewing from coming loose. Make sure you do not sew beyond the four corners of the rectangle as this will ruin your project. With the sewing done, take out all the pins and proceed onto the next step of cutting the pocket window. Cut through the line that is in the middle of the pocket window. Cut through the triangle, but do not cut beyond the rectangle at any sides. Next, tuck the upper part of the long strip inside out. Then do the same for the bottom part. With everything tucked inside, the next thing to do is to iron the seam of the pocket window to lay the pocket window flat. First, iron the seam open, then lay it together and iron, then flip the strip over and iron again. Repeat the ironing process in that 3 steps for the bottom strip. Iron the seam open, then iron it together, then flip the bottom strip over and iron. Then flip the main fabric onto the right side and iron. Before we continue our tutorial into the single welt, I want to point out that this method also can be used to create the double welt. Flip the main fabric onto the wrong side and the strip will be facing you. Then fold the lower strip halfway into the window and iron to hold the fold in place. Repeat this step for the upper strip. Fold the upper strip halfway into the window and iron to hold the fold in place. With that done, flip the main fabric onto the right side and you will have a double welt showing through the pocket window. Now that I've shown you how to use this method to create the double welt pocket, let's go back into creating our single welt pocket. Pull the upper strip straight up to uncover the window and iron. Then fold the lower strip to cover the entire window to create your single welt pocket. If the pocket window is not entirely covered, just fiddle with the strip until it covers the window completely and then iron to keep the fold in place. The next step is to attach the triangle on both ends onto the strip. Sew from one end of the triangle to the other end of the triangle. Do this for both sides. The purpose of tacking down the triangle is to prevent the pocket from shifting. Now that both triangles have been sewn and attached to the side of the strip, the next step is to create the pocket. Fold the upper welt to match the seam, then trim. Then determine how long or how deep you want your pocket to be. A good rule of thumb is that your pocket should be as long or as deep as your hand. Then line up the excess of the pocket back with the upper welt seam and then trim. Next, line up all the raw edges together and sew. When sewing, either sew on the previous stitch you did or sew very close to it. Now the top edge of the pocket has been closed, the next thing we want to do is close the sides of the pocket. Close the side of the pocket by sewing from the top all the way to the bottom. Repeat this process for the other side of the pocket. Here is what the single welt pocket looks like on the front, and here is a look at the back. Here is a look at the first single welt pocket we did using method 1 side by side with the one we just finished. Here is the double welt pocket in comparison with the two single welt pockets. Okay everyone, we've come to the end of this tutorial. If I have made the concept of creating and sewing a single welt pocket a little bit easier to understand and help further your fashion designing experience, please subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, share and leave your comments down below. Until my next video, bye and good luck.